Usually I say, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today, apparently you're not allowed to use the word lady. But welcome women, females, girls, and ladies, and a few gentlemen as well. So it's lovely to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of today. It's a very special day for me because I get to chat to these two beautiful women. Now, the thing about these two is they have nothing to say. They really have got no background. I mean, they just they turned up tonight, nothing to talk about. I don't know what we're going to find to talk about with Sarah and Whitney. I met up with them just a few weeks ago, and I could have stayed there forever. They've both got so much.
Yeah,
oh my word! Oh my word! So Sarah and Whitney, before they start talking, could you give them a huge round of applause just for being here and being a part of today? I think probably what we're going to do also is you've got a chance to speak and to ask them questions throughout. We're not going to keep it all separate. This is very much a conversation because you say this is very much about a community. So we're very much going to make this a conversation and not just me chatting to them. But if you'd like to join in, it sounds a little bit school time. But if you want to join in, please just put your hand up and then you can get your question in. So that would be great if you want to join in. For both of you, I suppose the easiest way to start today is that what is International Women's Day for you both? Whitney?
Oh.
What does today mean for you?
International Women's Day to me means a day where we celebrate women, how far we've come, how far we have to go. You know, it's important to realize we have so many things left to achieve, but how far we've all come. It's also a day to celebrate, the sisterhood and all, as a female entrepreneur now, I've never felt so supported by women. So it's a day to celebrate that and the, sisters out there helping us and backing us up.
Yeah,
Sarah?
I think it's always really important to take a moment to look back at how far we've come. And I think that a lot has changed in the last 10, 20 years. There's still so much more to do. And I think we're also responsible for ensuring that we support the younger girls, women coming through. But I like what your husband said, which you need to share about, I'm not supporting International Women's Day because...
Well, he thinks very strongly that women should be supported every day.
Which I think is
And that women should be supportive of each other every day as well.
Yeah.
So how did it all start for you? As a woman starting out in business, and it's, you're young, so it's not a very long time ago, but as you say, it's changed quite a lot recently. Yeah. And I think as well, we'll all agree this year with Me Too and everything that's been happening and equal pay. How did it start for you? What was your first leap of faith into the business world?
So I never stopped to think, can I do this? I just did it.
Hallelujah to that.
Yeah, and I think sometimes overthinking something is the biggest obstacle and the biggest thing to stop so many dreams. And so I wasn't blessed with great sort of grades at school, but I was blessed with a sort of an inner confidence or an inner self-belief. And that's the best investment my parents ever made in my education. The rest was, I think they felt that I didn't really return on their investment at the time. But yeah, it was just kind of not overthinking it and just self-belief that I was going to be able to achieve what it was I wanted to do.
And what was it that you wanted to do?
It was to open a store like The Fold, and it was powder, which I opened when I was 30. And I opened powder on the 1st of August, 2003. I had Jake on the 31st of August 2003. Jake spent most of his first year in a changing room or at a fashion buy.
She's talking about her son, just in case you weren't sure.
It's not. Yeah, it wasn't my partner. So it was just that was my thing. I loved fashion, and I had never gone into business before. I'd certainly never been a buyer. But I absolutely wanted to do it. I was passionate about bringing a different experience. And, I just kind of went ahead and did it.
And how about for you, Whitney? Because yours are very different.
Me, it's the
because
total
yeah.
opposite. I think because I was working as the SVP of communications for Tom Ford, and I had worked for him for 19 years. I had the best job. I had an amazing salary. I had so much to lose. I had 2 kids at home. I was just pregnant with my 3rd. So me, I had a year and a half of complete self-doubt. You know, I was like, am I throwing my career away? What am I doing to my family? Do I really want to work harder than this? Because I knew it would mean working harder than this. And then one of our investors is Natalie Massenet, who started Net-a-Porter. She's like, girl, you've got to do this. Like, you've got to do this. If you don't do this, someone else is. And that was sort of the impetus to just jump off the cliff. But I did too much. I did way too much self-doubt and you know, a lot of fear. But I think age has something to do with that too, because you have
totally.
a lot more to lose.
But doesn't that come from maybe not feeling supported as well? And you just say you had the support from your parents. I mean, I don't know whether you had support from your parents.
I had great support from my parents. I think working for someone like Tom, I think that gives you a certain amount of self-doubt too, because you think so much of your worth is tied up in working for someone else. That's amazing. So it's always like, oh, this is Whitney. She works for Tom Ford. I didn't feel like I had that much value. And that was my first job straight out of school. So I never felt like I developed the confidence professionally. You know, I did definitely get it from my parents, but professionally, I was always like the woman behind this great man. And so I think that was sort of a hindrance in a way.
Totally. And then you have that sort of, can I stand and do it and be that?
Or am I even interesting if I'm not, you know?
Of course you are.
Do you think that women feel that more than men? Do you think women have that moment of, can I do it? Or do you think there's something that is in anybody?
No, I think women will admit to it. I think guys will never admit to it. But we all have that. Sorry, guys, I'm not kind of, you know, but it's true. I think everyone has that sort of inner sort of self-doubt. It's just whether or not you feel it's a weakness to admit it, or whether you feel actually there's a strength in saying, I've had moments too.
I think there's for me to hear that you had that year and a half of I don't know if I've got anything to say, I don't know if I can do it. For me, as a woman, hearing another woman say that, I find that quite empowering, because it shows us that you're real and you had all of those emotions and those feelings. That I presume that you've all had those moments, haven't you? Whatever it is, whether it's at school, whether it's at work, those moments.
Yeah, but it's funny because now, having done it, now I sort of love being afraid all the time. I feel like every day, if I'm not terrified, if I'm not really pushing myself out of my comfort zone, that it's not a good day. Where before that was a scary feeling, now it's sort of a thrilling feeling. It's scary but thrilling at the same time. It's sort of like an adrenaline rush every time I do something like this, which is out of my comfort zone. This isn't something that I feel is naturally great, but I love it. I love it, and I'm going to go home and feel so happy that I pushed myself to do something that wasn't, sitting behind a desk.
And I think I get the doing something outside of your comfort zone, because it doesn't necessarily mean anything has always got to be as extreme as launching your own business. Sometimes it is doing getting up and talking, or getting up and putting yourself in something where you feel a little bit kind of anxious or nervous.
Going to investors meetings, talking to people that, that terrified me, even going for pitches for a flower box where I'm at I went to Swatch Group, and there was like every brand that Swatch owns, which was like, 16 brands, and I had to go give a pitch. But all of these things are things that, are...
And they help us to grow in terms of our own inner confidence. It's kind of it's a truly terrifying yet empowering experience, all wrapped in one sort of thrill ride.
But everybody pushes themselves and has to push themselves to some extreme. So I know that you were talking to students this morning, first thing this morning. With students who are starting out, do you think it is now very different from when you started out?
I think there's an amazing level of just self-belief, which I think is incredible. There is not that self-limiting conversation, mental dialogue that happens. There's this thing that they can do it. But the problem is that so can everyone else. It's a kind of, it's a really interesting and challenging time, I think, to be a young sort of 20-something or late teen, because you can do, and with the digital world, you can do anything. You can start up an Instagram feed and sort of do your own styling and sell clothes, but then so can everyone else. So it's really crowded, but it's also really exciting.
It's very interesting. I was talking to people in business before, and they were saying that now everything's very fast.
Yeah.
So the lawyer doesn't need to be a lawyer anymore, and if they do, they change jobs after a year because you can do it online. The professional photographers don't need to be professional photographers because everybody now has that. I love the way that everybody's nodding. But everything seems to be very fast. Now, have you found that everything's terribly fast? So you were saying you had those 18 months. Obviously, that's quite not fast for you, but it's very, very fast now. And your business is all online. Have you felt that?
Yep, there's this incredible desire for immediacy right now too, with companies like Matches or Net that deliver in an hour. If you order, you can pay supplement. And the way that we buy flowers, we buy them on your behalf from Holland. So there's a 48-hour lead time, which is inherent in our business model. And that's why we're able to offer the freshest flowers at the best prices, because we don't hold any stock. But it's funny because there's so many people I need it today. I need it in an hour. And I'm that would mean having stock of flowers. That would mean selling you old flowers. That would be selling more expensive flowers. So I, push back on that. But yes, there's an incredible desire for immediacy.
And then, so starting up a business, that's going back to that. Starting up a business now, as you say, it's about, okay, today I've got an idea, tomorrow I'm going to make it happen. Yeah. Does that make a business work? Can you work a business like that?
I mean, I always used to say it's a sprint and not a marathon. And then it led me to, just being at the rock bottom because I was exhausted. And so now I say, actually, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So I think pace is really a strong thing, and speed to market is really important. But you should never accelerate so quickly that you miss. And I'm full of all these analogies and all these sort of terms which never made any sense before. But now I'm kind of like, yes, it's all maybe because I'm going at a slower pace. I can sort of have time to appreciate things. But yeah, I used to sort of go so quickly, and I was so it's about acceleration, it's about growth, it's about this and that. And actually, I missed a lot. I missed a lot of the journey. I missed a lot of moments that actually, if I'd been going at a more reasonable pace, I would have gone, hang on a minute, this isn't right, and done something differently. Yeah, absolutely.
How about you? The same?
I think I'm I'm where you were when you were going too fast, because there's this incredible demand. Our investors, are really excited for us to expand internationally and globally. So I'm at the sort of running sometimes before I can walk phase, which is, the demand's there. If you don't do it, someone else is going to do it.
Yeah, totally.
So I'm at the sort of drinking from a fire hydrant sort of feeling right now.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing, and it's a business will benefit from that without a doubt. The danger is that you need to make sure you preserve yourself and your sanity and your family.
But how do you do that? How does you're both mums as well, and you run businesses. But how do you do that? I'm a mum, and my business is me. But there are times when you just don't know how to look after yourself because you're running ragged. Obviously, you too. How do you do it? How do you not run ragged? How do you do it?
I'm totally run ragged. I'm losing my mind.
Yeah. Well, you hide it really well.
No, I think, you're like juggling balls, and there's always like a ball in the air. You're either not being maybe the best mom you've ever been because you're being the best, most kick-ass working woman, or maybe you're not being the best wife, or maybe you're not being the best friend. I feel like one of those things is always not, maybe you're not doing the best.
So there's no such thing as super, do you think, I'm interested to know, is there such thing, I can't bear the expression when people say, oh, you're a wonder mum, you're a superwoman.
No. I think it's a management of guilt. Yeah. So, you're going to have to trade it one day,
But do men have to?
Less.
Less. Well, yeah, they sort of have a luxury of a wife. I was once told, you need a wifey. I was like, damn right I need a wifey. I mean, I've got an ex-husbandy, but, you know, that's another story altogether. I think, you know, again, we put so much pressure on ourselves, and that could be one of the biggest issues. We need to kind of... and we have such high expectations of what we want to be, and we don't want to show weakness, and we want to show ourselves in this most always positive light. And actually, sometimes it's okay to go, it is hard, and you know.
It's very interesting. If we maybe just talk about female bosses, because I know some people who have found their most unhappy times at work have been with female bosses. And I know people who have been bullied and treated very badly by female bosses. And I know women and men who have been treated like that. And they say, is it because the woman thinks that she has to behave like her perception of a man? I mean, I don't know about both of you, because you are females and you've both been bosses, and you are bosses. But do you think it's that we have to be like a man, or how we perceive a man to be?
Yeah, unfortunately, I think that is absolutely the case. Women, but again, I don't think the generation coming through have that belief at all. I feel that there was a long time where women felt that the way to be successful is to act like a man, and that was absolutely missing the point. And you know, it's a horrible trait, and I feel that it's probably, there are certain areas and industry where that was very much the case. And I think also there was this terrible habit of lifting the ladder behind, because it was difficult for us, and so therefore why should she have it easy and I'm not going to support. And, you know, and that's just, it's crazy. And it sort of shows just, if anything, just massive insecurity.
I mean, obviously you had a male boss for 19 years you were with Tom?
19 years I was with Tom.
But do you think as a female boss that you have to be tough?
Quite tough. I'm also
American
a
women
little
are-
bit like, I never called in sick. Like, I have no tolerance for people that are, I'm like, I didn't call in sick for 19 years. And so someone who calls in sick twice in a month, they just don't need to be sick. Like, unless they're in the hospital, they need to be at work. We are such a small team. I'm not that nice. I mean, I'm a nice boss, but I'm really demanding.
That's tough, yeah. So, okay, sorry, there's lots of people with their hands up, so please, yes.
Some of the most successful women I've met have actually made a decision. You know, they're going to be businesswomen, and their husband's going to have a kind of less job, and he's going to help with the children. Or alternatively, they're going to help with they're going to stay home with the children and enjoy that experience, and the husband's going to make the money. And I think it's really difficult actually nowadays.
So you don't think it's got any easier for women?
Well, I think we've just got a lot more intelligent, a lot more proactive, and I think we've got a lot more confidence about what we can be. And it's just trying to find the balance, I think, because, as you said, it's a very fast life. And
That's very interesting. Can we yes, please.
I was at an event last night and a similar question was asked. And a CEO of a big bank in Europe said, you know, to the question, you know, how do you juggle? How do you do this? And she said, I just work. I don't do anything else. And to your point around the kind of millennials and generation coming through, they don't recognise that, they don't see that, they say, I want it all. And if you, as my role model, are sitting there saying, you can't have it all, you can have one thing or the other, they're saying, well, I don't want that because that's, you know, doesn't fit my expectation. So, yeah, it's just interesting, the generation coming through.
I think it's okay to have, you've got to have a strong network of support as well. So, and I think, you know, unfortunately there are some, you know, people who can't because their families aren't around or they can't afford sort of the additional childcare. But it is okay to say, I do need, I need help. I need Mum, I need you to come and help out and do, you know, because otherwise if we try and be this perfect, we can do everything, you know, that's when just it.
But actually, isn't it quite empowering? I don't know, I'd just like to see a show of hands. Don't you feel quite empowered when you say help? I hate asking for help.
Yeah.
I'm the last person who will ever ask for help, and I've never taken a day off sick in almost 32 years, and I don't ever like asking for help, but when I do ask, it's like, oh, actually, that's quite a good feeling. Yes, sorry, you wanted to ask something.
When I first set up my company, I really wanted to employ mums who wanted to get back into the working place. I really wanted to be about social mobility and employment mobility. And we only, not exactly intentionally, but we only employed mums who hadn't worked for 10 years to start with. And then the Easter holidays hit, and they all walked out. And they came back 4 weeks later, and my company just kind of ground to a stop. And I worked myself into the ground. And then they came back 5 weeks later, and they all felt like they'd missed out. And I realised, like, yeah, we all want women to be, like, great leaders and really kind people. And I find myself aspiring to women who are, like, doing successfully in a way that I appreciate. But, like, of course you have to be tough. Like, we'd never look at a man and be like, oh, and can you do this being really gentle and kind all the time and letting everyone have days off? Like, it doesn't work like that. So that was really inspirational, what you just said there about expecting people to turn up for work, I think.
We were talking as well about the support that you get from other women. And I think we all know in the press, I'm not going to name any names, but in the press, the nasty things that are said about celebrities are usually said by women.
Yeah.
Yes, it's interesting that you all agree with that. Why is that? Why can women not support women? I mean, it's not across the board, but why is that? From both of you, interested to hear.
I think there's, it can only come from a place of insecurity is the only way. If you're if you're going to be that judgmental about someone else for a reason or negative, it can only come from a place of insecurity that maybe you don't even understand yourself. And that might be because there's a jealousy also. I think, you know, there are some really, sometimes I think we can be really hard on women we don't know, but just by their appearance, we make massive, loads of assumptions, and we imagine that their life is perfect, and we become these negative Nellies, and I just think it's so, everyone has their own shit to go through. Some people talk about it, some people don't. But, you know, you can't ever judge someone on a face value, and it drives me mad. It makes me so angry because it is bloody difficult a lot of the time, and, you know, we should be more supportive. It makes me, I get really emotional.
Yeah, I make
Absolutely. No, I agree.
Whitney, but that interesting one, pick up on the word jealousy. Now, a man doesn't necessarily, I don't know if it's very sweeping, but I don't know if in a workplace a man will be jealous of another man. But sometimes it happens that women will be jealous of other women. How do you stop that from happening, Whitney? What do you think?
Gosh, I really don't know. I mean, when I worked in fashion, it was mainly gay men, and they were just as bitchy.
Oh my God,
they were just as bitchy with each other as
yeah, that could be.
So I don't know. I've never worked in, you know, say a bank or in finance where it's predominantly male, you know, straight sort of men. So I don't know. I just have never worked in a work environment like that.
When I had wardrobe, in the early days, I made an absolute point of, because the fashion industry is renowned for being extremely bitchy, and there were these, you know, who looks skinny today kind of type of competitions, and I would absolutely lock down any bitchiness. I absolutely would not, and it didn't matter who it was that was being bitchy. I would not tolerate it, because it's not the environment that I wanted. I wanted a supportive and nurturing and, you know, a fun culture. And I didn't see any place for bitchiness at all.
Luckily that I've spent time with you two away from this moment. And I do get that you support obviously you're tough, you work hard, you do it for yourselves, you do it for other people. But I get that you'd support somebody, and that seems very, very important, that you'd support others in your businesses.
I am so grateful to my team. I want to kiss them all on the lips when I get in the office in the morning. They're working so hard, and I am so grateful, and I know that, you know, I am very appreciative and very supportive, and I realize what they're sacrificing and what they're doing to help me build my dream, and it's so grateful. It makes me well up just thinking.
I can see.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And you're the same. You just said exactly the same.
Absolutely. And And because it was like a family, I cared about them and I wanted them to be happy. And so I would encourage them to, develop themselves and go and, take other jobs or be ambitious or, just be happy. I mean, we spend so much of our time working, we need to love what we do. And that, I wanted them to feel that as well. I just wanted them to feel that they had a platform and that I could help them if I could. And I would to this day.
Like, we want to create a nice working environment. We want it to feel warm. We want it to feel, I want them to feel nurtured.
Yeah.
I want them to show up. But I feel like there are certain things that women do maybe better than men, which is to create, sort of a harmonious environment. That's something that's important to me, where it might not be as important to a man. So I do think women create different workspaces and a different sort of general feeling.
Yeah, I think there's also how you manage a certain situation in the workplace, with be it a woman or whoever your team are, be it sort of a guy or a girl. It's how you tackle that problem. And, I spent a long time sort of doing a lot of reading on the right sort of environment in terms of workplace and teams and how to approach conflict and, issue resolution and things like that. And I just think, that it doesn't matter if we take these labels off men, women, it's actually you should treat everybody with the same respect and level of courtesy that without putting a label. If that makes sense.
Is there anyone that's... Oh, hello, Alex.
Hi, Gaby. And for me, it's about leading by example. And I think there's so many young, cool companies that are forward-thinking that can actually make a difference. And I think if we all kind of know the right way to do it, it's going to create a really fair environment, a really fair workplace, whether you're male or female, and also just creating a company culture where people want to come to work. There's a slight family element to it, and actually that's really fun and really inspirational. And for me, that's kind of what I strive for within my company. And I think that's really important. And I think everyone here who is influential within the workplace should be able to make a difference.
Can we just talk about fashion and work? I mean, obviously we're in absolutely the right place for that. But fashion and work. And do you feel that women, we go back to being judged again, but do you think women and how they dress, they're judged in a male environment or a female environment? And are they judged by... I'll do that bit first and then I'll ask you about who's judging.
I do think that, I do think there will be judging.
I totally do, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So is there a way that... Now, is it the woman that judges the woman more than the man judges the woman?
Sadly, yeah, I think so. I don't think we're very kind to one another. We really kind of...
I don't think men judge the women so much, but men have a reaction to the way a woman dresses.
Yeah,
Like, if a woman's in a suit, then she's like a ballsy, tough woman. If a woman looks like really attractive, then she's hot. I mean, so I do think men don't judge them maybe so much as like, oh my God, those are bad shoes. But it's more like they respond to a woman very much by how she dresses.
It's an animal thing, isn't it? Yeah.
And women are like, oh, those are bad shoes. But they're not.
Yeah.
It's not like...
she should not. Yeah.
So do you think about what you wear before you go to work?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but then I rarely sort of move away from from black and cream.
But I think like all of us, we
So
want
it's
to
quite
look
easy.
good. I mean, looking good is important. It's also what you're putting out to the world, what you're saying about your company, whether you care about beauty, whether you care about, you want to look confident, you want to feel confident, you want to look comfortable, you want to look attractive. I mean, I don't know, I want to look attractive. I don't want it to be distracting, but you do. I feel like it's important, and especially if you're going and telling people you should believe in me, then I think it's almost a courtesy, and it's important to go out and if I'm asking you to buy my product, to believe in what I'm doing, to give me money, and saying that I care about beauty and something that flowers are like the most beautiful thing in the world, I have to.
I think and also look, I think, and shoot me if you think it's the wrong thing to say, but if you have your own business. And you need to step up every day and represent your brand or the company you work for. It doesn't have to be your own business. And actually, Yeah, I will think. I mean, I've never sent someone home for wearing something that they shouldn't be, although I know people who have. But I might say something if I felt it was inappropriate. And yeah, I do think actually you need to sort of take care. It shows a sort of, it's a confidence. It helps ourselves to sort of get a little bit more confident, and also, you know, it helps people believe in us and trust. And particularly when you're going through, you know, investment or whatever, yeah, people do, they invest in you. And so you need to sort of try and be the best that you can.
See, I loving you say all of that, because I love fashion. And for years and years, and the slightly older women here will know what I'm talking about, it was frowned upon to care about what you wore, and that you loved fashion and that you loved beauty, and you could like, because it meant that you were stupid or that you were insipid, or, you know, that's not important. But it's great with you two who really know what you're talking about to say, actually, I want to feel good, I want to look good, and it's empowering that way.
And there's nothing wrong with saying, doesn't mean we're vain or that we haven't got our priorities straight or we're not backing the sisterhood at all. It's just, I want to try and be the best I can.
For you?
For me. Yeah, I don't
And
do it for
also to
anyone else.
inspire, like, the young girls in my office, too. Yes, I do think it's important.
Yeah.
Now, have you got any questions? It doesn't have to be something that we've spoken about. Yes.
One of the things I was talking about today with our exec sponsors was around, so she's on the board, and she said one of the things she gets asked the most is, can women have it all? And her response was, yes, you can, but obviously you're juggling and one ball always slips slightly, which I think you alluded to earlier. So I just wanted to kind of, I guess, ask your thoughts around that question, which I think never get asked to men, does it? Which I think is indicative already of gender inequality in our society, but what you say when you get asked that question to all three of you.
Can you have it all?
I
There
think
we go.
you can have it all, but you need to allow that if you are a mother, actually maybe you need a nanny, or you have a stronger sort of childcare support network. And you have to also be very organised and have boundaries of when you're going to stop working and when you're going to focus on your child, because otherwise, if you're doing one thing or the other, you will always feel guilty. And I know that because that's how I felt. And I felt that Jake missed out on a lot when I was doing wardrobe, because I was so focused on the business. And he just was with his nanny. And it's something that I feel mortified about now, and I regret, and I can't get those days back. Whereas I wish I had been a little bit more, had set stronger boundaries. But then I was the boss, so why, you know?
Yeah,
what's
but then
stopping
you
me?
also have to look at the flip side, which is Jake has an amazing mom, and
Oh,
Jake
I
is
was
going to
gonna- I
grow
was just
up,
about to
and
say,
he's
look what
going to
he's
find
got.
when he looks for a woman, he's going to look for a woman who's smart, you know what I mean? So I mean, well, it's what I tell myself in low times too. I'm like, no, I'm like, I mean, I want to be an example for them and someone
Yeah.
they're proud of.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think it's funny because no one ever says to a dad, "How do you manage being a working father?" Like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they don't deal. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
something they have to juggle. You know, no one ever says, "What's it like having kids and working?" Because they all do.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a really, I think it is, and I was lucky because I only had one. But if you've got more than one child, I do think that.
No,
that's,
I'm lucky. I got more. We're all lucky, but
It's interesting. Nobody's sort of talked about friends, and I don't have a mother. My mum died 21 years ago, so for me, I didn't have a mother to be able to help me with babysitting and look after the kids and all of those things, and wedding, you know, the whole thing. And for me, my friends are my family, and I think that's very important. And we heard from the woman over there, I don't know if she's still there, about that she's on her own, and it's very tough. And if you're on your own, if you're a woman with your girlfriend, if you've got a man and your boyfriend, whatever the situation, or maybe you're on your own, or maybe you've got no family, friends are very, very important, and not necessarily friends in the workplace, but friends outside.
Yeah.
And for anybody asking me about juggling, I just say thank God for my friends, because I haven't got a nanny with a second child, and my husband's incredibly supportive. But friends are really important, and I think that is something that women do have, and not man bashing, I promise, but actually, some of my best friends are gay men, but the friends that you have are the people that you can lean on for those times. I think friends are really important.
Yeah, I was, when I was married to my first husband with wardrobe, and that working together didn't kind of work out too well for us. But now I have a sort of a husband who's phenomenally supportive, and yeah, I think it's he's at home with the 4 hairy babies at the moment. I've got
Dogs.
my dogs.
Just in case.
Yeah, they're not like 8 children. I mean, I know, it's just they're just my hairy babies, my dogs. Yeah, I think it's incredibly powerful.
Yes, 100%. I couldn't do any of this without my husband at all, at home, at work, anywhere. I feel like the first 10 years of our career, we fell in love at Gucci. We both worked together for Tom. The first
that
10
sounds so
years-
glamorous. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's, most people, it's, I fell in love in Sainsbury's. No. Gucci and Tom Ford.
Yeah, but then, and he was working really hard. I was working less hard. I feel like now it's flipped. And I'm like, I supported you. I mean, he was gone all the time. I supported him. There was 10 years, where we were having babies. He was gone all the time. I was doing everything. Now I'm like, it's your turn. You've got to help me out if we're going to make this big for our family. And he does. So he's great. I mean, I just texted him right now before this and said, you've got to go to the football game tomorrow. I can't go. I can't. And I did many years of where I was the one who was more available. So I think it's really helpful having a great husband.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to take one last question. We've run over tremendously. I do apologise. Yes, one last question.
I'd love to just know about your armour. About 10 years ago, I got my first job, and my grandmother took me shopping, and she picked out this really cute hot pink tweed Moschino suit. And I said, look, no, I have to wear black. And
I
she's
love
like,
your grandma.
You can't wear black. It's so boring. You'll look like a Corsican widow. And I'm like, no, I'm at the bar in England. I have to wear black or dark grey. And she was like, but how can you be powerful in black or dark grey? And I'm like, well, it's just the way it works. Do you have an outfit that makes you feel, I mean, we're surrounded by these amazing clothes. I live in these clothes. They're fantastic. But what's your armour? What is it that makes you feel powerful when you get dressed in the morning?
Sarah.
My armour. I mean, I have a very... I stay true to my... what suits me, which is... I don't feel powerful in a dress or skirt at all. I feel so vulnerable. So for me, it's always a suit and separates. So like a blazer, vest, and trousers, and normally heels. But I've abused my feet for so many years that they are soon to be going through a rejuvenation process. And then
What on earth are you having done to your feet?
it's bunions.
Oh, right.
I know, not very glamorous. And then I'll be back in my heels and just like running for the train.
And what's your armour?
Me, I have to say the fold is, you guys have done such a great, just a perfectly cut blazer that makes you feel like you can be, I work in a warehouse, it's freezing cold, we have no heat. That's where I am all day, but I have to go from there to come and meet with you, to come and meet with, these amazing Dior, these amazing clients that we have. So I think a well-cut blazer is really empowering. And for me, I still love heels. But, even if they're uncomfortable and I don't wear them at the warehouse in the freezing cold, I do feel like it gives me that extra bit of
Heels on the
confidence.
school run. Have you done it?
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.
The looks you get from the end, you go, yeah, I'm wearing my heels. Women, ladies, girls, females, gentlemen, men, thank you very much indeed. And thank you so much to The Fold. And thank you. This is the most glorious jacket, really it is. And you can carry on. There's food, there's drink, and there's, of course, clothes to try on and, of course, buy, although she didn't tell me to say that. I'm saying that. But thank you so much. Can we give our two beautiful women a round of applause?